After a month's break, we're back. The Scottish Premiership returns. It's all about the Dons as we take on Celtic today at Pittodrie. It's a 12:30 kickoff. Here are the other games in the Scottish Premiership today. Hearts taking on Kilmarnock. Livingston play host to Dundee United. Motherwell take on St Mirren. And Ross County take on St Johnstone. So after Rangers' narrow victory the other night, this is how the top six currently looks. We are in third. We need a decent result today to keep in touch with the top two, especially with Rangers coming up at Pittodrie after Celtic. So that is how the top half of the table looks. Good morning. How are you doing? At long last, the Dons are back. Hasn't it felt like a little age, eh? I have to say, I'm really looking forward to today's game. I cannot wait to see, one, how we set up, and two, how we are going to go about our business today. So, if you want to get involved, you are more than welcome. If you're watching for the very first time, what we basically do is drop your note, your message, your thoughts on YouTube, on the chat, and I will do my best to read it out as we go along today. It is a busy, busy show. We have an extended interview with former Aberdeen defender Brian Irvin. So if you haven't already seen, Brian recently paid a charity trip to Malawi in Africa with a company called Team Up from Canada. And he did some amazing work over there. And I thought, particularly with this year, this part of the year in mind, with Christmas and the festivities and all that, I thought it'd be really good to get him on so that he can have a little bit of a chat about it and explain more about exactly what he did over there. And I have to say, it's truly quite humbling. And then later, while I was sort of trawling through all my old interviews that I've done over the past couple of years, I came up with an absolute beauty with Theo Snelders, where we reminisced about a certain game against Celtic. So what I've done is I've clipped out some bits and pieces from it, re-edited it, and we're going to be bringing that to you a little bit later as well. It's his final quote as he wishes me a fond farewell at the end of the show. Is quite telling, I think. So I thought I'd share that with you today. So please, guys, do get in touch and come on, tell me how you're doing. Tell me what you're thinking about today's game. But before we get into all of that, let's update you and tell you how about the week that was at Pittodrie. The week began with Aberdeen's AGM. Chairman Dave Cormack has appealed to Aberdeen City Council in an effort to bring all parties together to continue proposed discussions. He also said the redevelopment of Pittodrie is a no-no, stating the beach and Kingsford remain the only two options. Manager Jim Goodwin believes the team are doing okay, but could do better, and he also revealed that there has been much interest in striker Bojan Majowski. On Wednesday, the council had further discussions and made a beach master plan. Also on Wednesday, it was confirmed that our Gothenburg greats are to receive the Freedom of Aberdeen in a weekend of celebrations in May next year. And finally, our Scottish Cup tie with Darvel has now been confirmed to be played on Monday, the 23rd of January, with a 7:45 kickoff. That is the week that was. So as always, a very busy week with lots of news coming out of Pittodrie, particularly about the stadium and what's going on. So, bit of a stalemate. It's such a tough one, isn't it? £80 million that the council wants the football club to fund themselves to build this new stadium. It's, I don't know, guys. I don't know what you think, but it's some task, and I fear the worst. I really do. So what I've done is I've predicted what I think will be the starting 11 today and the formation. So get in touch. Let me know what you think. Let's go through it first of all, and then you can interact with me. So today, I think Jim will I think he has to, basically, because of the amount of goals that Celtic are scoring and because the threat that they pose up front. I think he's got to go with 4 at the back. And I think that'll be Jack, Anthony, obviously Liam can't play because it's against his parent club, Ross, and then Jayden Richardson. And then I think it'll be we'll be tight in the middle, and I think Duke has got to play, but I think what he'll do is he'll play behind Bojan Majowski. And I think Vinny will play today because I've got a feeling that Vinny can create something out of nothing. And I'm hoping that because he sometimes goes into games without any fear, this is the type of game that might suit him. Now, talking about Bojan, he gave a very interesting interview to the Daily Record to a gentleman called Philip Mishoff, where he spoke about his double act with Duke. And I thought what I would do is just, this is why I think it's important that these two play together today. So he basically said this: I share a great deal of understanding with Duke on the pitch, and we complement each other as we are 2 totally different types of forwards. He can keep hold of the ball much better than me due to being physically stronger, and he is always double marked by defenders, which opens a space for me to run in behind. We simply work brilliantly together in attack. So today, I hope these two somehow play together up front, but because of the formation, I think Duke will play in just behind. But that, Duke playing today could be all the difference. It could. Right, let's see if any of you are online. Bear with me. Oh, lots of you. Lots of you online this morning. Brilliant. Jason Campbell starts our chat with penalty, Sefco. Gregor Stevens says, good morning. Kyle Muirhead says, come on you Reds. Oh yeah, now Gregor Stevens has gone out to say that it's very slippery outside, so be careful. I wish I could show you. We're completely covered in snow here, and because I live in sort of a mountainous valley, it is like a winter wonderland here. It's absolutely stunning. And I know that it's a little bit hazardous back home because a few people have messaged me and told me. So guys, please, when you're going to the game today, wrap up, be careful, be safe. So Ryan McIntosh has said, be interesting to see if he sticks with a back 5 or goes to the 4 with Scales out. Rob Clark. Good morning, Rob. How you doing? Let's start with a big question. How's the nose? My nose is fine. I had a huge spot on the end of my nose. Jeez, 50 years old and still getting spots. What's that all about? Gregor Stevens has also said, got to be a back 4. Johnny Elric. Good morning, Ali. Looking forward to the game. Really cold in Mod today. Wrap up, guys. Gregor Stevens has said, we don't have 3 central defenders to play back 3. Agreed. Ryan McIntosh has said, Ross McCrory, Anthony Stewart, Jack Milne. Okay. Yeah, possibly. Is that who you mean? Yeah. Gregor Stevens has gone on to say, hugely disappointed to hear talk of a 16,000 stadium. We're downsizing now. Deary me. Yeah, I'm worried about that as well. It's an interesting topic. Right, guys, we've got lots to get through. Lots of your chats coming in as well, so I will keep going with them. Brian Irvin, as I mentioned at the top of the show, recently went to Malawi, did some incredible charity work. I got him on, spoke to him a couple of days about it, and here he is to tell you about what was a very humbling experience. Brian Irvin. Hi Brian, it's great to see you. Thank you so much for jumping on because I know you have to run to work in just a wee while. First of all, let me ask you about Malawi. What took you over there?
Good question, Ali. What took me, I used to ask that, but it was wonderful when I was there. I thought, this is almost like a surreal experience, a dream. I'd never been to Africa before. And it was a connection with someone that I'd done some coaching in the summer in Canada with.
Okay.
That had suggested that he takes a group of Canadian coaches over to Malawi in the winter, and he'd love me to go with them this winter. So this was in August when I was in Canada, when we did the coaching in Chilliwack, just outside Vancouver. And this man called Graham Roxburgh was the head coach of the girls' team who were doing the coaching in Canada. And it was him that had put the thought in my head that he was going to Malawi in November and December and he'd love for me to come with him on the trip. And of course, in the summer, I said, that sounds great. Not really thinking it's going to happen. Didn't even think I'd get time off work, for example, to go out again another trip to do this. And I went into work one day, just like I'm going today, just going to Marks and Spencer's just now, and here was my line manager just waiting at the door when I went through the door, and I said, I've just got a question. I don't think it's possible, but about any time off that I could use up for a trip I've been asked to go to in Malawi. And he said, that'll be no problem, we'll get that sorted. So that door kind of just swung open, and that's how really it came about. That I got the time off Marks and Spencer's, another job I do with care work. That was no problem, I got that off, no problem. And so everything was set up to go to Malawi, and I flew down from Inverness on the 21st of November to, as I say, I've never been to Africa before, to a completely new experience. I just looked on it when I was travelling, it was like an adventure. And that's what it turned out to be, just like an adventure, Ali.
Did you meet all your objections when you were over there?
Absolutely. I mean, I didn't fully understand it, and probably still don't, of what they're doing. But it's the man from Canada, who the head coach of the ladies team from Canada. He's the executive director, or whatever his title, similar to that is, of this organisation called Team Up. So Team Up, as it says in the headline, basically team up with other partnerships. One other one they do is standing together. They team up, and it's working in partnership with other charities. And so they partnered up with this other organisation called Standing Together, and they're more into the farming side of things and how you get the best out of the land for the people in Africa, where the climate's actually very, very good, but yet the problems with the growing of the crops and the yields you get from the crops, obviously we associate Africa with famine times, and that's because they probably don't really know how to grow the crops properly. And so this Standing Together is behind the farming side of things, to try and get them to have better yields from their crops. And they've been showing things in the past that the Malawian people, and so they just copy the same all the time. And a good year, when you get rain in the dry season, you get the rain in the wet season, you have the hot sun in the dry season. It's ideal climate for things to grow. But obviously, when it's a poor wet season and there's no water, things don't grow so well. So that's when you get the crops don't produce a yield, and that's where a real hunger and real need for food in places like Malawi or other countries in Africa. But now this organisation are helping to get ideas and things in place to grow a lot of crops that before they couldn't grow. So the farm that I stayed on had an example with one field with basically 5 stages of different crops growing, like banana trees, mango trees, and the staple diet of the Malawians is maize. So that's, you see them, this white powdery stuff that they make it into a paste, and that's like their staple diet. That's quite a filling carbohydrate type meal. So that's a good crop as well. And obviously the normal grass. But in the past, they just used to grow the one thing, and if it came about, then they're fine, they're happy. But now that they've got these other crops growing, they've basically got all the crops growing throughout the year. So they've got they yield one thing, and then have the food off it, and then something else ready after a couple of months. So they've got a continual process. So the farming side of it was really interesting, and just to help the locals, because we were based in the farm. It was a South African couple that owned the farm that we were staying on, and they've brought that ideas to the local villages, to the people. So that the estate that we were on has maybe about, I'm just saying roughly off the top of my head, but maybe 20 to 30 villages in the estate. Just wooden huts with thatched roofs and brick, but nothing really inside, no electricity, just basic as you imagine African lifestyle. You can imagine it. That's what it was like, and these are all and they're all taking part in this project with Standing Together with the people who've got the farm there. So on top of the farming side, there's all the children that are born and all the children that come through, and the mums and dads, the coaches that I was involved with, was to give them basically a coach education on